Well, welcome everyone. It's a very cold afternoon here in New York, and we're midway through the second week of CSW. And here we are now to present what we presented in person last week to those of you right across the world who are joining us today that you missed out on with our in-person event. So Seroptimus International, Southeast Asia Pacific. And we are very pleased to present our presentation today. And we have our panelists with us today for the panel discussion. They are Dr. Danelle Davis, who's our program coordinator and the director of SISEAP, Siti Ashia Binti Hassan Harasi, who is our UN SISEAP scholarship winner to attend CSW. And Isha comes from Malaysia, and also with us today from across the world, another country in our federation is Ongarul Rensen from Mongolia. And we are very pleased to be with you all here today. So Seroptimus International Southeast Asia Pacific is a women's organisation, a women's movement. We are across the whole world, but we are broken geographically up into areas, and our area is Southeast Asia Pacific. And today's session, the objective of today's session is to talk to you about understanding Asia Pacific women's, I'm just trying to rearrange my screen. I'm on one very small monitor when I'm used to several monitors when I'm doing this. So let's start again. Understanding Asia Pacific's women's financial security. We're going to showcase Seroptimus cases for economic empowerment, and then with some recommendations for feminist financial freedom. And today's session is going to be interactive. So we're going to be using Slido, and we would request from the participants here today, if they can, to use that QR code or go straight to the URL on the left-hand side there. That if you go straight to slido.com and enter in #2644700, you will get to the series of questions that we will be asking you today, or Dr. Danelle Davis will be doing that as she goes through her sessions. And those responses will help us formulate some of the recommendations as we move forward. So I'll just leave that on the screen for another 30 seconds or so before I move on. Now, if you've missed this and you think, oh, I'm not going to bother, but then as we move through the questions and they intrigue you, you can get that same information from the handouts section if you go down to handouts. So Seroptimus presence, where are we? We're across 13 countries on the Southeast Asia Pacific, and you'll see those 13 countries there. And we also have just chartered a new club, a fully international online club, and in that club we actually have 4 women from Vietnam, so we actually can add Vietnam as another one of our countries in our Seroptimus presence, so from 13 to 14 countries. So we're across the whole area. Now we're going to move on to our first question, just so we can gauge where our audience is from today, so that we can then match that up with some of the questions and answers as we move through today. If you would like to go to that Slido and answer where are you from, if this is working correctly, we should start to see the responses pop up on the screen. They're not popping up as they should. I think I know what the problem is, but I can't fix it now. That's technology for us. Anyway, I'll give you a couple more seconds to answer that "where are we from" question. And perhaps Serena might be able to log in and log into actual Slido and give us some of those results in a couple of minutes. I think, okay. So, pardon? So our members are located, as I said, across the 13 countries across our region. We are a grassroots organisation, and our members understand the needs of their communities. They identify the issues, then they talk, and in consultation with their communities, they implement projects which address the issues that create lasting change for women and girls. And the reason why we say that we're a one-stop shop is that we work across 8 objectives: education, elimination of violence, food security, healthcare, environmental sustainability, waste and sanitation, conflict resolution, along with peace promotion, disaster relief, and mitigation resilience. So these 8 objectives are our strengths. They're the reason why we as Soroptimists can implement such amazing projects, because we're across all of the issues that affect a woman throughout her whole life cycle. And this is our strength, and this is where being a Soroptimist comes to its forefront. So these objectives all feed into the SDGs, and it's those SDGs and that reporting that helps us meet our SDG targets. And we as Soroptimists, we've certainly heard this week here at CSW, our work is impactful, it is being recognised, and we are certainly working towards closing that gap. So now I will hand over to Dr. Danelle Davis, who's going to start her part of the presentation.
Hello everybody. I'm not on screen, but I will talk to the PowerPoints. The last slide, please. Oh, the previous slide, please. That talks about what we've been doing just in 2023 on economic empowerment. Because we've got the way that we can dissect and disaggregate our data and the way that we report on our projects, we're able to say that we've been involved and led 17 projects, 2 scholarships, 1 for an older woman, 1 for a younger woman. We've got donations in kind and in dollars, and we've spent 255 hours just in advocacy for economic empowerment. And we'll talk a little bit about those shortly. But underneath there, I just wanted to give an overview of all the sorts of objectives that we've had in 2023, and those figures speak for themselves. So we're a force to be reckoned with, really. Okay, I can't see everything because technology. Okay, the girls we've assisted. We have helped 641 girls directly. We've helped 906 women directly, purely in the objective economic development, and our project expenditure is $88,162. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, what sort of projects have we done? Kiva, you may know about Kiva. It's about direct funding from people's personal individual donations directly to and fully transparent to an actual project. So we've invested as Soroptimists, personal Soroptimists, in 37 community projects in our high schools area. We've supported 350 at-risk youth. We've supported women, homeless women, or women who've gone from homelessness and need other help to make them readjust into a stable lifestyle. So that's 250 women and 380 girls just in that project. Living baskets are for refugee mothers. The numbers are there for you to consider. And also the driving lessons for refugee women. That's really important because that's their ticket to independence. We've had hairdressing training. Now that's fairly important too because that's skills that go on for a lifetime, and 17 women have been able to be hairdressers. Really important. Now in the Women in Politics at Sigatoga in Fiji, 20 women and 5 girls have participated, and we will be following their lives with great interest. We've also been doing entrepreneur training in Fiji for 10 women and 35 girls. Now this special Stitching Dreams project it started off being just Afghanistan women. However, it ended up with being quite a number of women learning how to do tailoring, and that way it fits into their own cultural requirements of being at home and being active mothers and a whole range of other things. So not only did they learn to sew, but they learned about business management, tailoring, childcare was provided, all those sorts of things to make that a success. Now in the advocacy area, it's the sorts of things we do that you might call it lobbying in your country, but in advocacy, we wanted to change some of the rules and the laws in our countries. And across Asia Pacific, we've got quite a few issues, of course. One of the biggest ones is modern slavery, and after COVID, we are next to Ukraine. We are the at-risk area with 86 million people on the move in Asia Pacific, and they are ripe for modern slavery. So it's very important that our rules around how we manage and call out and try to address modern slavery. So quite a few areas have followed up on that with their advocacy. Single parenting, the things about anti-discrimination, social housing and budgeting, and making sure that we've got some sort of systems there behind the legislation. We must have money and must have programs to make these things happen. And we've also provided input to lots of things, including meeting with ministers and dealing with care work and social payments, really important. And one of the most important things is the single parenting payment and making sure that's very much fairer than it's been. So they're the sorts of things that help women with economic empowerment. The next slide. So what we're here today about is the intersection, well, really is money, seroptimus of women, but really that goes into the CSW themes this year. SDG 1 on poverty, SDG 2 on food security, which is very closely related, SDG 13, which is our climate, because those sorts of things in our region are major drivers. But when we look at what can seroptimists do, what do women need, and our economic framework, there's quite a lot we can do. So I've talked about our projects already, but I'll go on to the next slide. Now, in late February, SISEAP, which is the United Nations ECOSOC for Asia Pacific, it brought its report out about poverty. So SDG 1, poverty, it's the reason that we're together, and that's what the performance has been against each of the targets we have on poverty. So there's quite a few areas of regression. There's quite a few areas that are doing better. So, and then there's several areas of no data. So the next slide, please. Now, poverty statistics in Asia Pacific, we have to be very careful. We have big statistics like Papua New Guinea. We have the worst situation for women, and we have in Indonesia the worst situation for disabled and elders. So we have some real issues in our own countries, but the graph that I'm showing you here is making sure that you're aware of the people who are most further behind. The thing is, we can have people racing out the front, but the whole thing of the UN is leave nobody behind. When we look at the sorts of things that we've got in our region, we do have major concerns for older persons. So we might go on to the next slide. What causes those sorts of things? Of course, COVID has been a big issue. Corruption is a big issue in our area. Climate change is exacerbating everything, but so is the cost of living. So no wonder we're in strife. Now, this next slide is talking about the Asia Pacific generally and target SDG 8. SDG 8 is about decent work. It's all very nice to say, isn't it lovely to have a job? But sometimes the gig economy, which might account for 93% of women's work in Asia Pacific, the gig economy or the informal work that they do puts them at greatest risk. They don't have sick leave, they don't have backups, they don't have pensions, they don't have superannuation, they don't get any support whatsoever if they're not producing or on duty doing what they need to do. So of course that also feeds into the gig work, also feeds into their care expectations. So we won't get into the care economy right at the moment, but decent work and having a proper framework, legal labour relations, legal framework around what they do. So even in the informal economy, we can have ILO, International Labour Organisation, interventions that allow a 2% of whatever a woman on a gig economy might want to put into a pension fund, a fund that is purely for the benefit, for her benefit. So rather than keep 100% of her own, she gives 2% and provides this through a very transparent process, and she has a safety net. We call that social infrastructure. So those sorts of things are very slow to take off, but I think after this CSW, I think that's going to take off a lot better because of the success stories we've been hearing. Next slide, please. So where do we stand? Soroptimist International have these great policy statements that says, this is what we stand for. Of course, our byline is to educate, empower and enable. So I wanted to just condense about 4 or 5 pages of our where do we stand argument and just condense them into these 3 areas. You can read faster than I can talk, and that website at the bottom, and when you get the electronic version of this, you can just click on it and look at our statements. We're updating them all the time and we're adding new ones as new issues come across our table. So that helps us all across our countries to embed the sorts of things that we're asking of governments and of legislation, of communities, of local governments. That helps us embed what we want and to articulate those. Okay, next slide, please. So how does this all fit together? Well, we have projects that go across education, empowerment and enabling, and some of them are so mixed up that they do everything, which we would hope them to do. And then we have case studies, which we've been talking about, but we're going to be talking about 2 very special case studies today. And we're going to learn about lessons and what we can do as a way forward. And today we want to engage you with our Slido so that we can drain your brains. No, we want you to co-design with us. We want to get your insightful ideas of how we could do things differently or better. So we're going to ask you during the next session about recommendations of how soroptimists and how women could do things better. So next slide, please. So what do you think financial freedom is? Which is the reason we're together today. So we've got a Slido question here. Perhaps you'd like to answer. Now we've got formal definitions of this, but we also have some ideas what people have been telling us what they think it is. And that's the people from all levels of the economy, whether they're in poor countries, rich countries, whether they live in the rural area, where they live in cities. So if you'd like to just answer that question, we'll go forward, and we might be able to get the answers online. Okay, I'll give you another minute or so for that. Okay, if we fill that in, we might just go forward onto the next slide. Now you can answer this for a little while afterwards while I'm talking, so don't feel like you're pressed. Very good. Now we come to the official or the published definitions about what financial freedom is. It's not being rich. It's not being about being wealthy. That has all sorts of connotations. It means having enough money to cover your costs to live. It's about finding financial independence and not being a slave to others. It's about not being debt-free. So not living today at the expense of tomorrow, but living today within your boundaries. And we know that when you're paying rent and paying mortgages, yes, you're not debt-free. However, you do have a roof over your head. So those sorts of things are living debt-free, because you're going to be making more than you're going to be living within your means. Gaining decent work and having a safety net, well, that's really important, and we'll delve into that shortly. And then having enough security that when you are too old to work, you're able to have some sort of security for yourself. Now, that might manifest in many ways, but generally speaking, it's meaning having a safe home to live in. Okay, well, I'll go on to the next slide. Thank you. So now I'd like to introduce Aisha. That's our miniature version, our mini version of her enormous great name there. And she's going to talk to us about Lombok in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Janelle, for the introduction. Yes, you may call me Aisha. So as Dr. Janelle had mentioned just now, I am here to present one of the two case studies for this session today. And this case study is called the Lombok Recovery Through Water, Shelter and Capacity Building Project. I'm honored to share with you the key points of the transformative work that we've done in response to the devastating earthquake and tsunami that struck Sulawesi in September 2018. This initiative not only aligns with United Nations SDG 1 and 8 directly, but also underscores the critical importance of empowering women and girls in times of crisis. I aim to effectively highlight the intersection of poverty alleviation, economic empowerment, and gender equality in the context of disaster response and recovery efforts with my sharing of this case study. So first, in addressing poverty and economic empowerment, the earthquake and tsunami in Sulawesi left a trail of destruction, displacing thousands and disrupting livelihoods. Women, the backbone of many families and communities, found themselves grappling with the loss of homes, income-generating materials, and basic necessities. So in response to this urgent need, SI Jakarta launched a 3-year comprehensive project aimed at empowering women in affected villages to rebuild their lives and communities. Recognizing the pivotal role of economic empowerment in poverty alleviation, SI Jakarta initiated initiatives that focused on sustainable water access, sanitation, and economic revitalization. Next, in providing sustainable water access and sanitation, the 7.0 magnitude earthquake also destroyed access to clean water supply. It fractured pipes and buried them in landslides. So what they did was they prioritized the establishment of safe water sources as well as sanitation facilities, recognizing the critical importance of clean water and proper hygiene in preventing diseases, as well as ensuring public health. Now, through collaborative efforts, SI Jakarta facilitated the construction of water wells. They also installed water pipes and the development of WASH, which is water sanitation and hygiene facilities in villages like in Rebot Satu. These interventions not only addressed immediate needs, but also laid the groundwork for long-term resilience and well-being. As you can see in the photo here, this is an example of one of the toilet buildings, the WASH facility that was constructed in Rebot Satu. Next, in empowering women through vocational training and income generation. Central to SI Jakarta's approach in empowerment of women through vocational training, recognizing the resilience and potential of women weavers in Rebot Satu village, SI Jakarta established weaving committees. As you can see here, they provided training in traditional weaving techniques. This enabled them to engage in small-scale entrepreneurial activities through the sales of their products, including hand-woven cloth. Additionally, SI Jakarta facilitated capacity building initiatives in financial management, in health, hygiene, waste management, and even nutrition. By equipping women with practical skills and knowledge, SI Jakarta aimed to enhance their economic self-sufficiency and overall well-being. Next, in fostering community engagement and sustainability, SI Jakarta approach emphasizes on community participation and sustainability. Through the establishment of village committees and collaborative decision-making processes, SI Jakarta ensures that interventions are culturally appropriate, are inclusive, and responsive towards the needs of the community. Moreover, SI Jakarta emphasizes the importance of water conservation and financial literacy, empowering women to become stewards of their resources and agents of change within their communities. In conclusion, Seroptimus International Jakarta, the project exemplifies the power of collective action and women's empowerment in addressing poverty and fostering sustainable development. By investing in women and girls, we not only strengthen social cohesion and help rebuild communities, but also create pathways to dignity and economic prosperity and enhance resilience to future shocks. Thank you for your attention.
I'd like to introduce now Orongaril Rensen, and she's from Mongolia. She's a very special member of Seroptimist International, and she is speaking now on behalf of Darkham Club and their GER project and vegetable farming. So welcome, Orongaril.
Thank you, Dr. Donald. So this is Orongaril. So Mongolia is a country of the 3.3 million people. In the 1990s, our country switched from socialism to free market economy. So this led to more unemployment, which increased domestic violence and divorces. Homelessness has increased in Mongolia due to rapid migration to urban areas. So there were many more women without jobs, taking care of kids alone, and renting and sharing homes. Next, please. So, SI Darkham Club fund members identified this issue, and they started the GER project to support the women in need and to provide the safe and affordable housing. So this GER is Mongolian traditional housing, which quickly can be quickly dismantled and assembled, and very suitable for the life of the herders. But until now, more than 50% of total households still live in a GER. And then by the end of this last year, total of 23 single mothers were beneficiaries of this GEAR project. Next. The last summer, SI Darhan Club organized the GEAR Festival, and there are Federation President and other official members attended. And here you can see the GEAR presented during this festival. Next, please. So here you can see some of the beneficiaries of GEAR project. So our SI Club members, they worked with local authorities to identify the women who will benefit the most from this free housing project. So women are able to nominate themselves to be considered for the aid recipient. So each application is reviewed to identify the candidates. They consider the single mothers with permanent residency who are homeless, survivors of domestic violence, or experiencing health issues. Yeah, here you can see some of the beneficiaries also. Next, please. These are the GEARs provided to some of the beneficiaries. Next, please. So after setting in the GEARs, the woman can join the vegetable growing project. So some of the Femimists who are the environmental or agro specialists, they lead this project. This project started with 15 women, and then these women get seeds, tools, and then lesson on planting and preserving the veggies for winter. Next, please. The year by year, these ladies, women become better and better, and then they not only grow the vegetables for themselves, they also able to sell some of the veggies on the market. They started to grow some fruits like berries, and they able to sell them to others also. Next, please. SI Darhan Club, they raises funds to buy gears, and this gear costs about $1,800 US. And Optimists all over the world, all of the clubs and individual members, like clubs from Australia, New Zealand, Denmark, Switzerland, Germany, Japan, and America. So many of the Optimists and clubs were donated and is still donating to this project. Next, please. She is the one of the recipient of this gear, and she is very happy, and now she is in a better condition of living. So as you all know, the home ownership, it offers the stability and improved health, and the vegetable growing project is a pathway out of the poverty to financial independence. So these projects address poverty, safety, and provide them a better future. Thank you for your attention.
Hello, you're back with Donnell again. And I'd like, what a brilliant couple of case studies. They really showcased climate change They showcased food security and definitely how that impacts on women and how women can not only just survive that, to actually thrive as a result of the sorts of things, sort of minor interventions, but they mean the world to our women, of course. So I'd like to encourage you to tell us in your own words what you might have learned from these case studies. So if you're on Slido, you might wish to put in your words. So we're not having the answers up on the screen, but that's okay. If we've got your email addresses, we'll definitely get you the outcomes, but we also will combine with the outcomes we had from our face-to-face meeting last week, because we had such wonderful, wonderful inputs and ideas coming from them. And that helped us be a little bit more circumspect about what we do in Seroptimist in Southeast Asia Pacific. So I'll leave you just another couple of seconds for your Slido, and you've got a few minutes to keep writing on that. And we might go to the next slide. I'm not sure how our time is going, but I'll... Right. So how do we do this? How do we help women to become financially secure? We invest in NGOs like Seroptimist, because Seroptimists are able to multiply the impact that an individual might have by themselves, or even a government. So our impact can be measured and very transparent. We can invest directly into women, to families and futures, and we can approach and work with the overseas development assistance, which is in most countries, definitely in our country in Australia. Feminist foreign policy, which is really taking off now. And after CSW, I think most of the countries here will be continuing to direct funds so that they can see the major difference, because when we invest in women, we invest in a country. The country's GDP go up immediately when we invest in women. But for more importantly, it's about what happens on the ground and their quality of life. We can put in money straight into Seroptimist projects, and sometimes they're the ongoing ones that really make a difference. We can put things into revolving funds. So this is what we wanted to do, and have a Seroptimist bank, but we can't use the word bank. It's a legal term that we can't use, so we can call it a Seroptimist funding, or we can use an Indigenous name for a similar thing. But what it means is a revolving fund, so that we do get seed funding, we give that to women, women pay it back, and then that money is reinvested and given to another woman for a micro enterprise. So the thing is, we are wanting people to be independent and stand on their own 2 feet, but we also need to give them a helping hand up, not a handout. Now, we are in a good position now to attract green and blue bonds. Green bonds are about environmental and climate actions. We also have the Green Climate Fund, which is reforming now so that we can have small grants coming out of there. And the blue bonds are really particular about people who live in coastal areas and islands, which is all about marine life and living and having to make a living out of the blue economy. So we're in a position that we can do that and help women find that financial freedom by looking at those sorts of avenues for us. We can advocate for change. Now, we find barriers for women trying to get bank loans for a home, bank loans for any sorts of things, small business. There are so many barriers. But we also have bias in the way that the banks have their traditional way of assessing loans for people. So we want women to be co-designing ways out of that, and we want to break those barriers so that cost of living is much more achievable, and that every dollar that women make and we invest makes a difference in the right direction. We can advocate also for better tax systems, better pension laws, better labour laws, and having the new initiatives coming out of the International Labour Organisation to help specifically to help women. And one of those big ones was 2 years ago, we had the ILO 190, which was about housekeeping. Like, a lot of housekeepers were being abused and never paid properly, and worked long hours and never got paid for them. And now housekeeping is a defined and recognised career, and labour code and those sorts of things. Housekeepers now have some rights. Okay, next slide, please. What do you recommend, Rock, for Soroptimists to do as a priority so that we can help women to be financially secure? But there's special sorts of things that Soroptimists can do, and we're doing so much now, but we're so busy dealing with like micro measurements, which are exactly right for grassroots. But we would like you to recommend to us what else we can do to make things better. So I'd encourage you to go on to Slido and to put your opinions in there, please. Okay, there's some options there in, but you might have other options as well, which we'll just ask next. Okay, what do you recommend? What do we want to do in Southeast Asia for Soroptimists in the Pacific? What do we want to do? Well, we want to lead this Soroptimist finance, or have a bank for women by women, so that we don't have this bias that is presented to us every time we turn around. We want to have transparency. We want to nurture women-led initiatives, especially on the ground and globally. We want to coordinate with this overseas development assistance, which now is becoming much easier for us to access. We want to apply the feminist foreign policies that are coming in, because we've never had this opportunity before. Other countries like Canada, even though it was proposed by Australia in 2008, it was Canada who led the way, led the world on that, and they're reaping the benefits already. We want to apply for Asia Development Bank, who will give us dollar for dollar if we meet their criteria. But we also want to access the Women's World Bank funding, which is only just being reformed and changing and restructured for us, because CSW and women around the world have said they've had enough, and we need to have less bias in the way that women are not being looked after. So our noises and our voices are being heard by these big organisations and the UN. We seek priority for our women in Soroptimist because of our credibility. We've been around 102 years. We've got a great reputation. People know about us. So we have priority. We would have much greater priority than brand new NGOs that are likely to fall over. So we've got a history there for the greens and blue bonds. We want to partner with long-term relationships with accredited banks already and accredited corporate partners. So we only want to deal with corporates who meet the human rights criteria and the global compact. There's 10 principles that they must meet, and they're our preferred suppliers, and they're the sorts of corporate organisations that Soroptimists want to work with, and they want to work with us too. But it means that we have to make some special efforts to make those relationships work start. Okay, we also want gender-sensitive decision making with all of our sustainable development institutions. Now, you say, oh, well, it all fits under 17 SDGs. Well, not really. The systems that we're living with are very patriarchal. The only places where they are matriarchal are where we have traditional lands that are being owned by women and handed down from woman to woman, not man to man. Now, those are traditional lands with Indigenous peoples, and our our common law and the way that we are dealing with land management and handling land in our countries are terribly patriarchal. So matriarchal systems are dying out and being taken over by corporates. And we really need to learn our lessons from the matriarchal systems because they've lasted thousands and thousands of years. So our gender-sensitive decision-making in today's world is a bit of a trick. So we really have to advocate for better ways to move on in every situation that joins us. Now, you are a very learned organisation. We want to ask you what your recommendations, because I'm sure that you are more circumspect than us because we're living it, and we'd like you to just fill in that last Slido, please. And then we'll just wrap up. So your last Slido is, what do you recommend? So I'd like to leave a few moments for us online to make recommendations to us. It's such a shame we can't show our results online, but we will be sharing lessons.
That's fine, Danelle. I realise what the technology issue is, but we can't fix it up now. But what we're going to do is, Cesarina is going to read back just a couple of responses from each of our previous questions while that the ladies are filling in that last one for us. And of course, we need to remind them that this Slido questions are open for the rest of the day, so they can go back and add more if they wish. So, Cess, if you're there, do you have any of the responses up so far?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so for the first questions, where are we from? Almost all of the participants in this particular session are from the Asia Pacific.
Right.
What do you think financial freedom is? 80% of the respondents being able to pay my bills, and the other answer that came up was being able to help others financially.
Yeah.
What do you learn from the case studies? That SI is doing amazing work to lift women out of poverty and giving them financial freedom. Clubs support, no matter the time and amount. It has an high impact on our fellow women to become close to their individual freedom and worth. I have learnt more women that are helped. I actively seek more advocacy and assistance with my clubs and regions. And the ranking question, what do you recommend Seroptimus do as a priority? The top response was target training to empower girls and women on specific projects to multiply success, followed by advocate for access to more government funding and project seeding. Oops. Sorry, that just changed as we were speaking.
As it does.
So the ones that I just read out are of equal importance. It's just that people must be still answering the questions, so I'm getting more responses. Followed by establish a Seroptimus revolving fund and help dissolve barriers for projects to succeed. And the final question, I can see that people are still typing. The revolving fund or bank idea should be investigated as a priority. I recommend directly to have contact with clubs that are especially in areas of greater need. Feminist foreign.
Yes, I think working in partnership is a very good one, and we certainly could see the economic benefits that brings about, by the GER project.
Working on feminist foreign policy in our countries. And again, it's financing, leader Seroptimus financing option.
Great. Thank you, Cess, for reading those out. And it's a shame that the technology didn't work, but I've learnt my lesson. I know what to do to make it work next time. But for the ladies who are with us today, we do have sitting in our audience here in our hotel room, our Seroptimus International President, Suyong Gungalan.
She's here.
Yes, she's here. So she's going to poke her head over Danelle's shoulder, turn on the video, and you're going to get an extra special hello from her.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sue Young here from the same federation as your members from Southeast Asia Pacific. I've been just asked to say a few words. I think we are talking about feminist funding and,
Yes.
and
Financial freedom.
and financial freedom.
Economic empowerment. And those
Wow.
things.
These topics are like relevant and
Really important, yeah.
sorry, people can see me. Oh gosh, I'm not
No,
sure.
they can't see you, I don't think.
Okay, just to say a few words. Basically, I think we really need to be concerned about the way the world is going, especially for women and girls in the marginalized environment, because we may not think of it so much if we are in a different space, but for them it is such an important topic that we should be concerned about, because without economic freedom, a lot of bad things can happen to them. They will be subject to violence too. They can be subject to hunger and feeling really depressed and can have mental issues. So I think economic empowerment of women is really quite critical. And I'm so glad that we are thinking more about those things. In the past, I think our issues were more on just education and subject like that. But I think going on in the new world, I think we have to be concerned about women and girls suffering from not even having a proper meal or having power to decide on their own what they want to do with their lives. So I think, frankly, I'm so happy that Southeast Asia Pacific is looking at those areas, because in many of our communities, we may have women suffering from those issues. So thank you so much for all the wonderful projects that Southeast Asia Pacific is doing in the islands and in Australia or Mongolia and Asia, Laos or Myanmar, is it?
Yeah.
So many areas in and Jakarta, I think just now we were mentioning. So it's wonderful. I just jumped in and tried to say something. I hope I didn't disappoint you all. So thank you so much, all of you ladies and our sisters members from Southeast Asia Pacific. Really my privilege to say a few words. Thank you, Christine, for
thank you, Sue Young. I know I put you on the spot. You were sitting there on the couch listening in. Sue Young flies back to Malaysia in an hour or two, so she was just having a little rest, and I put her on the spot, but couldn't miss an opportunity to speak to our international president.
Thank you so much.
Lovely.
Yeah,
and I will ask our other presenters to come in on the video, because I noticed that during the presentation they actually had their camera off so that you could concentrate on the presentation. But Aisha, Ungarul, Danelle, please show yourselves so that the audience can see who our presenters were.
Okay, well, Arongral and I are sitting at one computer. Can you see us? Can you see us?
Yes, yes, we can.
Very good. Okay.
And
we
there's
have Aisha.
Aisha, who's
Triple trouble.
Aisha, who's been enjoying herself at CSW, making some amazing network connections, talking with quite a lot of other young women around health and period poverty, and that's her expertise area for the work that she does do. And Ungarul's just joined us on Saturday. So we are a force to be reckoned with here at CSW, and as I said, we certainly have been making sure that our voice is heard. And the other person sitting in the audience is also our SI advocacy per Optimist International Advocacy, Lee Elwood Brown. So Lee, you might as well pop your head in too. So Lee has been monitoring webinars every day, both virtual and in person, doing some amazing work with the UN representatives that are here, and talking with the UN reps about where we're going in the near future and what program and presentations we'll be able to present. So perhaps a word or two for you too, Lee, and then we'll close off.
Thank you, Christine. Hello to everybody, and thank you to the presentations that were given today. Southeast Asia Pacific really pulls far above their weight. Congratulations to all the work that's being done. But here in CSW, as President Christine said, we're actually working very hard right at this moment of time on the negotiations for the agreed conclusions from this meeting. And of course, we've got lots of pushback on women's rights. So we have quite a strong team working on language, and it's all about language as it interprets back into other languages and what it means, very different to what we know it to be in English. So it's strong negotiations for the next few days. And our United Nations representatives are certainly representing us, as well as the members that are here at CSW in quite a few different sessions. We had a delegation of well over 100 Seroptimists here in New York, and we are the largest, by far one of the largest delegations that attend this meeting. So everybody knows Seroptimist at Commission on the Status of Women in New York. So thank you for your work, everybody, and thank you for coming.